Seth Davis is kind enough to join us, CBS Sports college basketball analyst. And he got roughed up a little bit for his tweet about the FBI's investigation into college basketball, the pay-for-play scandal. And this has to do with, Kansas is involved in this. You got other programs. You got Arizona involved in this. Seth Davis tweeted out, for 2 years, the FBI used every investigative technique at its disposal to dig into corruption in college basketball. And the biggest fish they caught were Christian Dawkins, Jim Gatto, and Book Richardson. Maybe the sport is actually cleaner than we thought. Were you joking about this, Seth?
Morning, Dan.
Hi,
Let me
Seth.
tell you something. Do you know how exhausting it is being the smartest guy on Twitter? It is a full-time job.
That's why I'm not on Twitter, so you can be the smartest guy on Twitter.
That's right. I was not joking. First and foremost, let me say it's a running joke between us when I say, I end my spot saying I love you. I do love you, and I thank you for what you said yesterday, bringing in your radio family to what you're going through, and I'm praying for you, and I know you're going to be just fine with all this. Thank you for doing that. Here's my point. We talk about I use the words college basketball. Maybe college basketball is cleaner than we think. Who are we talking about when we're talking about college basketball? The guys that I named, Christian Dawkins, Jim Gatto, these assistant coach, are they college basketball? I think when most people think about college basketball, we're talking about players and head coaches. And if you go back to the press conference at the Southern District of New York held a year and a half ago, they made a big show of this thing when they had the initial arrest. We have your playbook. We're taking the whole thing down. I am convinced, and I know this based on my reporting, that they believe that was only the beginning of what they thought would be a process that would lead to the big names. Because remember now, they are not differentiating between NCAA violations and federal crimes. They are saying that committing these violations is a crime because you are, in effect, defrauding the school. So the only thing that I'm trying to say, I didn't say college basketball was clean, but they have wiretaps and informants. These are tools the NCAA could only dream of having. And what have they really turned up? Like, what proof have they turned up? We have Book Richardson, an assistant coach for Arizona, telling Christian Dawkins, who is an aspiring agent who is a known liar and has committed malfeasance on a lot of levels against employers and the like, saying that Sean Miller personally pays DeAndre Ayton $10,000 a month. Well, the FBI wiretapped these guys' phones. Why don't they have Sean Miller on a wiretap saying these things? If the Southern District of New York, you think they want to put Christian Dawkins away? They thought they were getting Sean Miller. They thought they were getting Bill Self. They thought they were getting – so if they had this evidence, Sean Miller would be a defendant in this trial. So, look, I'll believe anything. I'll believe that it's possible that Sean did this. But just show me the proof. Show me the evidence. There's financial records. There's wires transfers. There's bank statements. The FBI has access to all this. Is Sean Miller such a good money launderer that he can hide paying a player $10,000 a month? And Christian Dawkins telling Book Richardson, oh, yeah, Sean told me this. Sean barely knows Christian Dawkins. He's not a big player in this space. If Sean Miller's paying DeAndre Ayton $10,000 a month, you think he's going to tell that to Christian Dawkins?
Yeah, but
So
he said it. He said it under oath, though,
Yeah.
Seth. He said it under oath.
Well, I mean, people lie under oath all the time. Christian Dawkins is saying, but why isn't it on the wiretap? Where's the corroborating evidence? And if the FBI believes that's true, why isn't Sean Miller the defendant here? So,
okay, let me ask you this, though, Seth. Let me ask you. Do you think DeAndre Ayton was paid to go to Arizona?
I'm answering that question with a quote from Tom Cruise from A Few Good Men. Don't tell me what I know. Tell me what I can prove. I'll believe that. I'll concede that it's possible.
Okay.
I'll concede that it's possible, okay? I may even think that it's likely. I may even think that it's highly probable. Show me the proof.
And that's fair.
And so when people say, well, yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Okay.
And for a year and a half, the FBI wiretapped these guys' phones. And I know for a fact that Sean Miller's on wiretaps because they have to be notified by law if you're caught on a wiretap, even if you're saying something benign. So I'm just saying this is what they have. This is everything that they have. This notion that these trials are going to happen and all of these crazy things on wiretaps are going to show up, I mean, that only happens on TV. So that's all I'm saying here. And, show me the proof on these things. and we'll follow the facts. And that's why Will Wade is still the coach at LSU, and that's why Sean Miller's still the coach at Arizona, because there has to be an actual finding. So when the NCAA moves in on all this, they're able to take the evidence from the trial, but they need corroborating evidence. They can't just take Christian Dawkins' word that Sean Miller told him that he paid DeAndre Ayton for them to have an actual finding that Arizona can say by Sean Miller's contract, because of this finding, you are now fired.
We're talking to Seth Davis, CBS Sports college basketball analyst and great writer, great author. I'm also curious about this because there has been documentation of an ask price for Zion Williamson at Kansas, correct?
Well, again, when you say documentation,
there was a report. There was a report, right? That there was a conversation. Okay, that there was an asking price for Zion Williamson to go to Kansas, correct?
That was stated on a wiretap between somebody and Curtis Townsend, who was an assistant at Kansas. So whether or not we don't have the actual ask, we have someone saying, "I heard there was an ask."
Okay.
What we have to remember, Dan, is that everybody in this mix, they all have these agendas. So again, Christian Dawkins is somebody who's trying to build an agency because he got fired from his own agency because he was caught using Alfred Payton's credit card to fraudulently run up $42,000 of Uber charges. How anybody gets up to $42,000 on Uber anyway? I'm just taking rides to Alaska or what he was doing. But he's a liar and a fraud on a lot of these levels. I think what happens is a lot of these guys talk to each other and say, "I know Patino, I know Self. I heard Zion's getting 10,000. You got to give me 20 so I can get you Zion." There's a lot of that stuff going on now. Would I believe that Zion Williamson got money? Of course I would believe that. Would I believe that Marvin Bagley got money? Of course I would believe that. Don't tell me what you think. Don't tell me what you know. Don't tell me what you believe. Tell me what I can prove. At the end of the day, that's what this comes down to. What is the evidence and what can we prove?
Thank you, Seth. It's great to talk to you.
Dan Patrick, I love you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, bud. That's Seth Davis, CBS Sports college basketball analyst. I understand what he's saying. You want to have that evidence. Would I be surprised with any of this? Would I be surprised DeAndre Ayton was paid at Arizona? I'd be surprised if he wasn't paid at Arizona. I'd be surprised if these kids in Kansas weren't paid by somebody somehow. I would be surprised if Zion Williamson or his family was not paid for him to just stay in college basketball for a year. I'm not surprised at any of this, but I do think that college basketball, while we want to say, "Oh, look at these, pillars of integrity on the sidelines there," John Wooden is the pillar of integrity in a lot of people's minds in the coaching basketball, even coaching any sport. And he looked the other way when you had a boost. You had the sugar daddy there at UCLA. It happens because there are motives that are there. And they're not always altruistic. You have people with agendas. You get coaches who come with players. Hey, if I'll bring in this kid, but you got to bring in the assistant coach. He needs a job too. There's so many people involved in it, and there's so many layers to it. I'm not surprised at any of it. Does anybody get popped for this? Maybe not. It doesn't mean college basketball is clean or cleaner than we thought.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune into Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV. Stream for free on VR Live or download the Dan Patrick Show app.